Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea. It's been a long time since I've introduced a video like that. I don't really do sit down videos as much anymore, but I am wanting to change that. I think it kind of comes and goes in waves of both ideas for topics as well as time to film. During the semester is just a little bit difficult, but this is a video that I have been meaning to film and wanting to film for a while now. So as you'll have seen from the title of the video, it is a Fibro update video. I have not done a fibromyalgia focused video in like 2 years. I'm gonna get into why in a little bit, but I thought it was time for a number of reasons. Not least of all because this year is also 6 years since I was diagnosed, and last year, we were still in the midst of the pandemic and it just really wasn't something I was thinking about. I was exhausted, I was burned out, I was flaring constantly, it felt like, and so making a video about this topic just was not something I really wanted to do. So I kind of missed out on like the 5-year anniversary of my diagnosis. And it's not really an anniversary thing that I celebrate, but I did start thinking kind of towards the end of last year, beginning of this year. February would have been 6 years for me since my diagnosis. I did start thinking around then, it's been 6 years. I've learned a lot about the condition, about how it is particularly affecting me. There's probably a lot that I can talk about. And so even though I'm no longer really wanting to make fibro related videos, I thought maybe this is one that's worth making. And then also wanted to kind of discuss why I don't make fibro related videos as much anymore and kind of what I've been trying to do instead, and address kind of the fact that 2 of my fibro videos, one in particular, has really gained some traction. Anyway, I'm gonna look off to the side every now and then because I do have some general notes. So yeah, this is probably going to be a bit long and rambly and chatty. So yeah, get yourself something cozy to drink, get yourself comfy, settle in, sit back, relax, and let's have a chat about fibromyalgia. So 6 years since diagnosis. The diagnosis video is one of the videos that is gaining traction. Let me look this up. My fibromyalgia story, which is my diagnosis story, is currently, at the time of filming this video on April 8th, is currently sitting at 12,000 views. And my what it's like having a fibromyalgia flare video is currently sitting at 21.7 thousand views. Looking at my other analytics for my channel, particularly my subscriber count, that number has been going up exponentially alongside the view counts of those 2 fibro videos. So I did do a video on my diagnosis story, how I got diagnosed. I filmed that the year I was diagnosed. So I filmed that in October of 2016, I think, and I had been diagnosed in February of 2016. That video is now quite old, but it's still accurate to my story. But it's been on my channel for a while, and yet somehow this past year, it's really increased in views and interaction. But the what it's like having a fibro flare video has gotten the most views and traction, and I still get views and comments on it every day practically. I know a lot of you are here because of those 2 videos. A lot of my new subscribers are here because of those 2 videos. So hi, welcome to the channel. I hope you'll stick around even after you hear everything I have to say in this video. But yeah, oh gosh, I'm already getting all over the place. 6 years. So I've got a note for reflections on diagnosis, symptoms, how are they now? My symptoms 6 years on are definitely different. Some are better, some are worse. And I think part of that has been impacted by the pandemic, by my workload, teaching. I'm a full-time writing instructor at my local university, and this semester I am teaching on campus twice a week. The other 3 days I work at home. I'm only on campus twice a day, and I'm only teaching 2 classes each of those days. So 4 total in person. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do you work with this condition? And I think that answer varies. I think a lot of people ask me questions about my workload, about my schedule, about how I manage to maintain a full-time job, and they're asking that from the perspective of how their case is, how their situation with fibromyalgia is. They're not asking from the perspective of the full context of my own life. So one thing I've learned in reading everyone's comments on the Fibro videos is we all are being impacted by this condition differently. Some of us have it way worse, some of us have it much better. There are a lot of little things I do throughout the week that allow me to get through a full afternoon of teaching on campus, because if I don't make those allowances and adjustments, I not only won't get through teaching both classes, but I probably won't make it on the drive home. I manage to keep my full-time job partly because I have to. I mean, I won't lie. Part of it is I don't have a choice. I'm not married. I don't have a partner who I live with. I don't have a second income that I can live off of. My condition is manageable enough that I can still work, and I don't have an option otherwise. I don't qualify to go on disability or Social Security or anything like that. So part of it is I just have to. I don't have a choice. The other part of it is I am very lucky and very privileged, and I do not take this for granted, that I am in a field and in a job where my schedule, for the most part, is very flexible, where my schedule is largely my own. That is a huge way how I have been able to continue my career, because I work in a job where I have a lot of flexibility. Another huge reason is 6 years on, while some things have gotten worse, a lot of things have gotten better, and part of it is also I have learned what is best for me. I've stopped resisting the downsides. I just accept fibro sucks. It just does. There's no way around it. Fibromyalgia sucks. It is a horrible condition that is still far too misunderstood and little understood. There are far too many misconceptions, far too little research, but I've learned ways of coping with my fibromyalgia, with the symptoms that affect me the worst. Part of that is just accepting it's going to suck, and I can't keep acting the way I did before I developed fibromyalgia. It's really easy, I think, to fall into the trap of missing those days and wanting those days back and feeling like you've lost something, or that fibro has stolen something from you, and it absolutely has, and I think we're all valid in feeling that way. But you do kind of reach a point, I think, where you have to make a choice of, are you going to perpetuate that misery and that bitterness and that resentfulness, or are you going to accept that this is just your new reality? And I feel like some people take a really long time to get to that point. Other people never reach that point. Some people reach it probably faster than I did. I feel like it took me probably about 4.5, almost 5 years. It's really been in the past year that I feel like, and I think the pandemic and everything the pandemic has been teaching us was a huge part of how I got to that point, and just the journey I'm going on with kind of rejecting toxic productivity and the mindset that I kind of came through grad school with, and coming into more of approaching my present moment and my future from a perspective of kind of slow, mindful, intentional living, creating moments of happiness and joy right now, not falling into the trap of I will be happy when this happens or that happened, or I don't have a bad fibro day. Like, I can have some pretty crappy fibro days now and still feel pretty happy overall. Like, my happiness is not connected to my status of my fibromyalgia anymore, the way that I feel like it used to be. A bad fibro day could just be a bad day overall, and now I feel like I can have a bad fibro day but still have a good day overall, and for me that is massive progress. So the symptoms that have gotten better and worse, or just ranking my symptoms, I guess. So there's pain, fatigue, and brain fog. So pain levels. Overall, I feel like my pain levels have, I don't know, some days I feel like they're better, other days I feel like they're worse. I can definitely have days where I'm just in a lot of pain, particularly nights after teaching on campus. I think also I've just learned to kind of tune some of that out. So the pain has kind of stayed about the same, but there are certainly days where I still can just get knocked flat with the pain. The fatigue is up and down as well, but I feel like the fatigue is now the symptom. I feel like my fatigue has always been worse than my pain overall, but at the moment my fatigue is definitely far worse than my pain, or at least, and I think I mentioned this in the other videos, they might be about the same, but I feel like I've just learned how to tune the pain out. So unless the pain shifts to something that is much sharper and more acute, the general kind of dull achiness I kind of don't pay attention to anymore. It just, like, it feels wrong to say I don't notice it, but I kind of just don't notice it. Like, if I really stop and scan my body, I can be like, oh yeah, I do kind of hurt today. But throughout the day, I just really try not to pay attention to it. And I know not everyone can do that with their fibro pain, so I do feel very lucky that it is still at a level where certain types of fibro pain I can kind of just not pay attention to. But the fatigue I feel like is harder to ignore. If I'm tired, I'm tired. It's been really important to me to make sure that if I'm not sleeping, because one of the misconceptions is if, you know, oh, you get chronic fatigue, well, just take a nap, just sleep more. It's not that simple. But what I have noticed in the past several months, I have started to really prioritize rest. And even on nights where I just don't sleep, making sure that I still get at least 8 hours, if not 9, in bed. So I might not sleep that whole time, but I am in bed with my eyes closed for at least 9 hours. Also, managing my activity levels. So like I said, knowing that Tuesday and Thursday are going to be really high activity for me, making sure the other days of the week are lower activity for me. So the fatigue is definitely better in some respects, but I think that's largely because I have just learned how to adjust things in my life to accommodate for that fatigue. I think the biggest thing when you go through something like fibromyalgia is not that you get some magic pill or some magic cure or anything like that. It's just you slowly learn to become more in tune with your body and learn what your body needs. What does it react well to? What does it not react well to? And you learn to do more of what it does react well to and less of what it doesn't. The third symptom, and at the moment this is the worst one, is brain fog. I feel like brain fog was something, or fibro fog as it's often referred to within the fibro community. I feel like brain fog, fibro fog, was not my worst symptom to begin with. Fatigue definitely was, very closely followed by pain back in 2016 when I was first diagnosed. In 2016 I was still a PhD student and I was still very active with school and was constantly having to focus and concentrate and learn new things and then write my dissertation. You know, 2016, I hadn't even taken my comp exam yet. So I was still very much in the middle of my PhD. The brain fog issues I'm having with are part fibro fog and part burnout brain fog. I am so severely burned out right now just from life in general and how I've been trying to continue pushing myself at my normal pre-pandemic levels during a pandemic, which has made everything harder. In the beginning of the pandemic, I really didn't make allowances for all of the extra emotional labor I was doing at work, all of the extra mental labor I was doing, I kind of started to realize last year, yeah, this isn't just normal burnout, this is pretty severe burnout, and I have to make some significant changes. This semester in particular, I've just really noticed how bad the brain fog is, and I feel like that is the fibro symptom that is being aggravated the worst by burnout. So I do consider that I've got two separate conditions, fibromyalgia and severe burnout, but they are definitely linked. And so the brain fog that can be triggered by the burnout then gets magnified and triggers more of the fibro fog reaction. And so cognitively, I'm not doing that great. And as someone who, you know, has 3 graduate degrees, including a PhD, and is a teacher, I have a YouTube channel, and I'm a novelist. I write and self-publish my novels, and I've always really prided myself on my brain. I've always considered myself to be a fairly smart person. To have moments now where I will be literally mid-sentence in the classroom and I will completely forget what I'm saying. Mid-sentence, not like I stop to take a sip of water or I stop because a student is asking a question and I get pulled off my train of thought. Like mid-sentence, words are coming out of my mouth and I suddenly forget what comes next. It is awkward, it is embarrassing, it's really difficult just kind of psychologically dealing with, like emotionally, psychologically dealing with the brain fog, but also cognitively dealing with the brain fog. It's like there's a lot of frustration that I can't get my words out, that I forget things so easily, that if I didn't have a million alarms and alerts on my phone, I wouldn't remember what day of the week it is or where I need to be at any given time, that if I didn't keep a very detailed planner and task list, I'd forget what needs to be done. Even like tasks that I do every day, I would forget about if they weren't on my task list. And so the brain fog has been the really hard thing to deal with over the last year. Yeah, it's really, really difficult dealing with the brain fog because it's one of those things where I feel like the fatigue and the pain I don't feel shamed or embarrassed by, partly because if I'm just having a bad pain or a bad fatigue day, I can hide away in my apartment and no one has to know. But the brain fog is the one that kind of other people do notice, because I will forget what I'm saying in the middle of saying it, or I'll drop the ball on something, I'll forget to do something. Students will ask me questions and I have to have them repeat it, sometimes a couple times, for me to fully process what they're saying. And then I feel bad because I feel like I'm making them feel like they're not asking the question right, when really my brain's just not processing it fast enough. You know, it's a me problem, not a them problem. And so the brain fog is the one fibro symptom I'm dealing with right now that I feel like it's not only hard to deal with like logistically in the moment, it's also hard to deal with emotionally, because I just feel like I'm not me. You know, it's one of the, like, I can have really bad pain and I can have really bad fatigue and I can still feel like me. I'm just me who's tired, or I'm me who's in pain. But when I can't speak straight, when I can't remember a word for something, when I forget what I'm saying in the middle of saying it. So in the 6 years, some of these symptoms in terms of pain and fatigue have gotten worse over time, but my coping and management techniques and things that I do to manage them have gotten better, and so that's mitigated some of the damage. And so overall, even though the symptoms are worse, they impact me about the same amount of time, same level, if that makes sense. But the brain fog, that's just bad. That's just bad. And I don't know what to do about that other than continue my journey of slow living, to continue my, you know, goal of prioritizing rest, prioritizing self-care. Looking back at my notes, because I've been talking for a long time and I'm like not even halfway through the notes, editing this video is going to be so much fun. What has changed is how I handle and manage my symptoms. This has been a game changer over the years, but specifically since the pandemic started, and even more particularly in the last few months. And that's with like just really paying attention to how I adapt, how I make certain accommodations, things like that. Certain non-fibro things have happened that have made me have to prioritize these changes a bit more. So being diagnosed with high blood pressure and going on medication for that, being diagnosed with a heart condition called PSVT, which is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. It's relatively mild, and it's something that I've been told by my cardiologist not to stress about, because stress will just make it worse anyway. It's not something to stress about in general because it's not particularly life-threatening. We know about it, we're managing it. There are things we can do if it gets worse, but it's also not something to stress about because stress will just make it worse. I don't think stress caused either of them. I think age, genetics, things like that caused them, but stress definitely doesn't help them. As I'm reducing stress, I'm noticing that my pain is decreasing, and I'm really hoping that the brain fog and fatigue will also decrease over time. The biggest change is how much exercise I'm doing. I feel very fortunate that I can do this. Not everyone with fibromyalgia can. Again, fibro kind of seems to affect all of us a little bit differently. A huge part of what has been helping me has been focusing on some sort of daily gentle and mindful movement. And I don't want to call it exercise for a variety of reasons. And so I'm not talking about going to the gym and pounding it on the treadmill. I'm talking about gentle walks around my neighborhood, even if it's just to my mailbox and back. Yoga on days where I just can't do anything at all. I can at least do gentle yoga. I kind of know how to read my body and what my limit is, and I don't push myself beyond that limit. I knew that exercise would have a really strong impact in terms of my heart health, in terms of my physical ability and my fatigue, and helping me sleep better, and it's definitely had that. It's not gonna work for everyone, so I'm not saying this is what everyone with fibro needs to do. I'm just saying this is something that has really helped me. So it's mild to moderate activity, but it's helping me to understand how to really read those signals that my body is sending me and know when I can do more, when I need to do less, and it has been just helping me physically, mentally, emotionally, overall. It's just been a really good habit for me to get into. Now we get to the point of the video where I explain why I don't do fibromyalgia videos anymore and what is the future of fibro discussion on this channel. Partly it's because I don't feel like I really have anything to talk about. I think I've done like 11 or maybe over 11 designated fibro chat videos. They should all be in a playlist together. So I've talked about fibro while I'm traveling, my fibro diagnosis story. I've talked about what a flare feels like. I've talked about how I can tell when a flare is coming on. Like, I've done all the main topic videos that I can think of, and so part of it has been, I just feel like I don't really have a whole lot to say. I know I've had, you know, new followers find me from my fibro videos, but it's never been huge numbers at any given time, and most of them either unsubscribe or don't subscribe in the first place, or they just get into my other content and kind of stick around for that. One of the reasons why I wanted to kind of address this was because these two fibro videos in particular are now getting so much traction. Obviously, the way the YouTube algorithm works is the more people watch a video, the more YouTube recommends that video, and so then even more people watch that video, and I'm not complaining. I get really positive comments on the videos. It's always some variation of, I used to feel so alone, or I thought I was the only person experiencing these particular aspects of fibromyalgia. Watching this video has made me feel less alone and or less crazy. If you are someone who has watched that video and you're watching it now and you've felt that way, you are not alone, and you absolutely are not crazy. The pain is real, the fatigue is real, the brain fog is real. It's not your fault, and it's not something to be ashamed of. I'm glad that I have filmed this selection of videos that are now out there for people to watch and hopefully learn from, that will help them, or at the very least it will help them feel validated and less alone. But there are some negatives to having these videos out, and that is for every, I'd say, 10 to 15 really nice comments I get, I'll get one that's just at best insensitive, at worst absolutely cruel. And there are a bunch that I delete. One of the things that's frustrating is I get notified when someone posts an original comment, but I don't get notified when someone replies to an existing comment. And so periodically I try to go back to that video and go through the replies on the comments to delete certain comments, but I literally cannot moderate all of them. But what's frustrating is, particularly as a woman, particularly as a fat woman, there are a lot of misconceptions about my condition. So on a semi-regular basis, I will get comments basically saying that I don't have fibromyalgia, that I just need to lose weight, that I just need to go on a vegan, paleo, keto, gluten-free, dairy-free diet. And I'm not saying diet changes don't help people. I know that I have tried making some of those accommodations and stuck with it for a good couple months and didn't really see any benefit, but it caused other problems with other conditions I deal with. Just FYI, I am working with a dietitian. I see a dietitian every month. I have a therapist. I have a physical therapist. I have a whole medical team working with me. I'm getting all of the medical advice I need. There's also a nice way to give like medical advice suggestions. I'm not saying there's a problem with the very lovely people who've said, this is something I've tried and had really good results with it. Have you tried it? Or is this something you'd be willing to consider? Or something like that. There's a difference between those types of comments and people just making moral judgments about my life and my health because of how I look. And those, depending on how I'm doing with my mental health, sometimes those comments I can just block and move on, and other times those comments are really difficult and can really put me in a not good place for, you know, the rest of the day or even for the next few days. And that's really hard because I don't want to just stop reading my comments, particularly on important videos like that, but it's also hard to keep putting out new videos that I know are going to attract those types of comments. Like, I've been wanting to film this particular update video for months, like for at least the last few months. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about getting everything out. At this point in the video, I have been talking for about 50 minutes. I don't know how I'm going to edit this. If this ends up being 40 minutes long, I'm sorry. This is a very daunting video for me to want to film because I do have to be more vulnerable when I do these fibro videos, and sometimes I just don't want to be vulnerable. It's one thing being vulnerable in my vlogs because not everyone watches my vlogs, and so it feels like the people that take the time to watch my vlogs are people who are honestly invested in me as a person and in the content I create. Whereas the people who come to these kind of very topic focused videos, they are specifically searching for the topic, so they are invested in the topic, but they are not invested in me. They don't really care about me, and therefore they don't care if they hurt my feelings. I'm not a hologram. I'm a real person, and I have my own fears and doubts and worries and insecurities and things that can just make me feel really, really bad if someone kind of hits on that thing. So to intentionally film and upload a video that could lead to people pushing on that thing is just a really daunting thing for me to do. So it feels a little bit more complicated than it used to. At the time that I filmed my very first fibro video, my diagnosis story, I think I had like 500 subscribers. I now have over 2,300 subscribers. It's not a massive number, but it is enough, and as these videos are getting pushed more by the algorithm, it is attracting more people and it's attracting more attention. And it's one of those things where I want the channel to grow and I want more people in this community, but I want people in this community who are genuinely interested in me and understand that fibro is a part of me, but it's not all of me. And so going forward, I don't know that I'll be making very many designated fibro topic videos, but I do and I will continue to talk about fibro in my vlogs. When I'm having a bad fibro day, when my brain fog is really flaring up, I do talk about it. I don't hide the fibromyalgia. I don't hide the bad days. I don't like focusing on the bad days because that's just where I'm at now. I'm trying to acknowledge when they happen, but not dwell in that headspace. But you know, I don't hide from them, so they do get mentioned in the vlogs, and it is because the vlog community, that portion of my audience, feels a lot more engaged and supportive and accepting of me and all of the things that I'm dealing with. I mean, I've just noticed this with the comments. I don't get harmful, hurtful, and troll-ish comments on my vlogs as I do on my designated topic videos. It makes it feel like the vlogs feel safer for me to create, and the vlogs feel safer for me to be even more honest and vulnerable, because I can have a really vulnerable moment kind of embedded at like minute 17 of a 30-minute vlog, and only my most loyal viewers are going to see that moment, and they're the ones I'm not afraid to share those moments with. Whereas to film a video like this and get really open and real and raw, it's like just waiting for someone to then tear me apart. Statistically, I know it will happen. I know someone at some point will watch this video and will leave a really negative, hurtful comment. So the vlogs just feel safer, and I think going forward, the vlogs are where I will be talking about my daily experience of living with fibro. And it's not that I'll mention it in every single vlog, but that is where you will find me talking about these sorts of topics, because it's just gotten harder to manage it when I talk about it in these kind of designated sit-down ways. I'm very grateful. I really hope this comes across. I'm very grateful for all of the people who have found me and my channel through one of those fibro videos, but who have stuck around even after realizing that this isn't something I talk about all the time. You know, there are creators I follow who these sorts of topics are the main identity of their channel, and they do a really great job with that. That could never be and will never be me. I don't have the mental or emotional capability of running a channel solely around fibromyalgia. I wish I did, but I don't. So I think that's about the end, and we've now been going for about 60 minutes. Hopefully I have managed to edit this down to something a little bit more succinct. I normally end my vlogs with a question or something like that. I don't have a question, but I think in honor of fibromyalgia, if we could put a bunch of purple hearts in the comments to let me know which of you lovely people have made it to the end of this ramble, I would really appreciate that. If you did enjoy this video or found it helpful in any way, I'd really appreciate the thumbs up. I hope if you are new to this channel with this video that you will stick around and watch some of my non-fibro related videos. Subscribe if you're not subscribed so you don't miss those. And yeah, hopefully I will see you all in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye!